In June 2026, HeyMax cut 17 redemption partners in a single day and killed its cash for miles program. The burn side of the business contracted by 45% overnight. Over exactly the same period, the earn side kept adding merchants weekly, launched a product that sells miles forward, and signed a two-way coalition deal with a published exchange rate. One half was being pruned on cost, the other was being extended. That is why this analysis is in two parts, and this is the first of them. This is an independent analysis of HeyMax's earn side. Every way the platform lets a member acquire a max mile, who it has partnered with to build those surfaces, and which unworked partners make the most business sense. Researched in August 2026 from public sources. Nobody paid for it, nobody previewed it, and nothing in it is financial advice. A companion volume does the same for the burn side. Here is the finding this volume is built on. HeyMax has 13 distinct earn surfaces in 3 families. Commerce is dense. Several hundred merchants added weekly, with rates set per merchant and per category, reaching 14.25 max miles per dollar in peak categories. Payment is deep but singular. Card Maximiser models 17 issuers, and it is Visa only. And the network family, which is the one that matters most, has exactly one inbound coalition. U1. Commerce Payment Network, dense singular 1. That imbalance is the whole argument. Ask most people what HeyMax should sign next, and they will name a retailer. But merchants are throughput. The company adds them weekly without a strategic decision being made. The two places where a single signature changes the shape of the business are the second card network and the second coalition. Neither of them is a merchant. 3 things I did not expect to find. The first is that a card-referral business is hiding on every merchant page. The Klook page renders a best card-to-use module across 17 issuers, and HeyMax's own help center lists as one of 3 ways to earn max miles, purchasing credit card or insurance products from financial partners. Issuer bounties are marketing budgets, not interchange, which makes them immune to the regulatory compression this series has documented across 4 markets. It is the cap-immune half of the earn stack, and the company describes it almost in passing. The second is the 90-day clock. Every merchant page says the same thing: purchased today, tracked in 1 day, redeemable in 90. For a company whose product is a currency it prints itself, a 90-day lag on issuance is not an operational detail. It is working capital. And exactly one surface breaks it. Vouchers and gift cards credit instantly, which makes them a deliberate liquidity product wearing a convenience features clothes. The third is awkward. The single most valuable unworked earn partner is MasterCard, and HeyMax's Series A included a strategic investment from the former president of Visa Asia Pacific. That is excellent for deepening Visa, and it is the most plausible explanation for why the second network has not happened. I cannot show an exclusivity clause, and I will not assert one, but the incentive is visible, and a volume that ignored it would be less useful than one that names it. 11 chapters, the 13 doors, the Klook page decoded, what HeyMax actually earns from market by market, chocolate finance and what a mispriced issuer deal costs, you and what a coalition deal really buys, the record and what the roster does not say. Then the 2 structural holes, the second network, the second coalition, the rest of the ledger, and a verdict with 5 falsifiers. Let's begin. Chapter 1, 13 doors. Most people describe HeyMax as a shopping rewards app. That description is not wrong. It is just not useful because it collapses 13 different businesses into one noun. HeyMax has 13 distinct ways for a member to acquire a max mile. Each one is a different counterparty type, with a different negotiation, a different cost structure, and a different failure mode. Understanding the earn side means understanding that the surface is the strategy, and that these surfaces do not resemble each other at all. They sort into 3 families. The commerce family, 4 surfaces. Affiliate shopping is the visible one. 800-odd merchants, with rates set per merchant and per category, reaching as high as 14.25 max miles per dollar in peak categories. Then vouchers and gift cards bought inside the app. Then in-app travel booking, flights and hotels. Then dining and reservations. The payment family, 5 surfaces. Card Maximiser, launched in May 2024, recommends the best card for a purchase using merchant category codes across 17 issuers. It was HeyMax's first Tier 1 network partnership, and it is Visa only. Then direct issuer partnerships, of which Chocolate Finance's Visa debit card is the landmark. Then stacked issuer campaigns, like the UOB preferred Visa running to 6 miles per dollar in April 2026. Then transit, bus and MRT in Singapore, up to 6 miles per dollar on campaign. And then Octopus for mobile octopus payments in Hong Kong. The network family, 4 surfaces. Coalition inbound, U-points converting to max miles at 3.6 to 1, worth up to 10 miles per dollar. Referrals, 2-sided, 700 to 1,000 miles each way. Campaigns, roughly 30 help center articles worth of merchant-funded bursts. And employee benefits, corporate max miles distributed through employers. Alongside them sits the financial products seam, Airwallex, Atom, Stashaway, FWD. Now count the coverage, because the imbalance is the finding. Commerce is dense. Several hundred merchants, added weekly, incremental to build and incremental to lose. It is a solved surface. Payment is deep but singular. 17 issuers modeled, 2 named issuer deals, Transit and Octopus, all of it inside one card network. And the network family has exactly one inbound coalition. 1. That asymmetry is the argument of this volume. When people ask who HeyMax should partner with next, they almost always answer with merchants. Another retailer, another category, another airline's shopping portal. That answer is wrong, and it is wrong in a way that is easy to prove. HeyMax already adds merchants weekly without a strategic decision being made. Merchants are throughput, they are not strategy. The 2 places where a single signature changes the shape of the business are the second payment network and the second coalition. Chapters 7 and 8 make those cases. One more thing about the 13, and it is a caution rather than a criticism. A surface count is a measure of ambition. It is not a measure of health. Each of these 13 is a different negotiation to maintain, a different partner to keep happy, a different rate table to defend. The chocolate finance story in Chapter 4 is what happens when one of them is priced wrong. It took under 5 months to unwind. 13 doors. Some of them are load-bearing and some are decoration. The rest of this volume is about telling which is which. Chapter 2, the Klook page decoded. If you want to understand HeyMax's earn side, do not read its marketing. Read one merchant page. Here is Klook, as the app rendered it in July 2026, under merchant category code 4722. Travel insurance, 8 max miles per Singapore dollar. China purchases on a day-specific promotion, 6. Tour, hotels, dining, car rental, attractions, transport and staycations, 1.6. Special activities and Klook gift cards, 0.8. Excluded activities, 0. 5 rates, 1 merchant, a 10-fold spread between the top paying category and the bottom. That table is the earn side's real architecture, and 3 things follow from it. First, HeyMax is not paid by merchants, it is paid by categories. A rate of 8 on travel insurance and 1.6 on a hotel booking, within the same merchant, tells you the commission Klook earns on insurance is several times what it earns on accommodation, and HeyMax is passing through a fraction of each. The platform is not negotiating a merchant rate. It is arbitraging a commission schedule it did not write. That is a genuinely strong position, because it means HeyMax's earn rates rise automatically wherever merchant margins are fat. And it is a genuinely fragile one, because the moment a merchant's commission schedule moves, so does the member's rate, with no negotiation required. Second, the excluded row matters more than the top row. Every rate table in this business has a zero line, and the zero line is where members lose trust. A member who books an excluded activity and earns nothing does not experience a category rule. They experience a broken promise. The 8-mile headline is the marketing. The zero is the churn risk. Third, and this is the one almost nobody writes about, the same page renders a best card-to-use module across 17 issuers. American Express, Aspire, Bank of China, CIMB Chocolate Finance, Citibank, DBS and POSBDC SHSBC ICBC Maybank, OCBC Standard Chartered, Trust, UOB Validus, UTRIP. That is a card referral business, sitting inside a rewards app on every merchant page. And it is not an inference. HeyMax's own help center lists 3 ways to earn max miles: shopping online with partner brands, dining at restaurant partners, and verbatim, purchasing credit card or insurance products from financial partners. The company describes the referral business itself in the second sentence of its own explainer. This matters for valuation, not just for description. Affiliate shopping margins are thin and structurally compressible. The merchant sets the commission and the platform takes a slice. Card and insurance acquisition bounties are marketing budgets. An issuer will pay hundreds of dollars for a funded, activated cardholder, and that money is not interchange, so it is not exposed to the regulatory compression this series has documented across 4 markets. It is the Capimune, half of the earn stack. Now the 90-day clock, which is on every merchant page and is the most economically significant sentence HeyMax publishes. Purchase today, tracked in 1 day, redeemable in 90 days. 3 consequences. It creates a rolling 90-day float on every mile issued. It defers the moment the liability crystallizes, and it gives HeyMax a 3-month window in which the obligation is contingent rather than real. For a business whose product is a currency it prints itself, a 90-day settlement lag on issuance is not an operational detail. It is working capital. And it sets up the one surface that breaks the rule. Vouchers and gift cards bought inside the app credit instantly. No 90-day wait. That is not a convenience feature. It is a deliberate liquidity product, sold to the member as speed, and functioning for HeyMax as an immediate, self-liquidating sale of its own currency at a known price. 1 merchant page, a category arbitrage, a referral business, a float, and a liquidity product. The earn side is considerably more interesting than the app makes it look. Chapter 3, what HeyMax actually earns from market by market. The earn side is usually described in the abstract, 800 merchants, which hides the more interesting fact. HeyMax's 2 live markets have differently shaped earn surfaces, and the difference is deliberate. Singapore first. The named merchants in HeyMax's own help center are Shopee, Lazada, Amazon.sg, Trip.com, Singapore Airlines, and Booking.com. Read that list: 3 marketplaces, 2 travel booking platforms, 1 airline. That is an e-commerce and travel surface. It rewards planned, high-ticket, considered purchases, the kind a member makes a few times a month and thinks about before making. Now Hong Kong, launched in November 2025 with Cathay and 300-plus merchants. The named brands there are Watsons, Trip.com, Klook, Starbucks, and Foodpanda. Read that list: health and beauty retail, and experience marketplace, coffee, food delivery. Trip.com is the only overlap. That is a daily spend surface, small tickets, high frequency, habitual. Same product, 2 different earn shapes. The Hong Kong mix is closer to a daily spend coalition than Singapore's is. And the Octopus partnership announced in December 2025 is that logic made explicit: mobile Octopus payments are the most habitual transaction in the city. HeyMax entered Hong Kong and immediately went after frequency. At home, it had built around consideration. Why does that matter for the partner question? Because frequency and consideration are different businesses. A high consideration surface earns more per transaction and produces fewer of them. A member who books a flight through the portal generates real margin 4 times a year. A high-frequency surface earns very little per transaction, but it establishes habit. And habit is what makes a rewards currency feel like money rather than a coupon. The Hong Kong shape is the better long-term one and the worse short-term one, which is a reasonable thing to build in a market you entered second, with a flag carrier anchor already signed. Now the merchant count and an honest discrepancy. HeyMax's Series A communication in January 2026 said 800 merchants. Its own help center, read in August 2026, says 500-plus partner brands. Those conflict, and the smaller figure is the more recent self-description. I cannot resolve it from outside. The plausible explanations are that 800 counted merchant pages or included Hong Kong and regional coverage, while 500-plus counts Singapore brands, or that the roster was pruned the way the transfer roster was. So this volume uses the formulation the evidence actually supports. Several hundred, described by the company as 500-plus, and by its Series A communication as 800. Anyone quoting a single number is quoting a number the company itself has given 2 ways. And a caution for anyone rerunning this research. Several consumer review sites in 2026 still describe HeyMax's transfer roster as 28 partners and still name Hainan Fortune Wings and Kantas. Those were cut on the 1st of June, 2026. Treat any consumer-facing review of HeyMax as pre-pruning unless it is dated after that. The same staleness risk applies to merchant lists. One last observation about the surfaces beneath the merchants. Transit, bus, and MRT in Singapore, up to 6 miles per dollar on campaign, is worth separating from the merchant floor because it is not a merchant relationship at all. It is a payment rail. So is Octopus. So is Card Maximiser. Roughly a third of the 13 surfaces are rails rather than shops, and the rails were all signed later than the shops. That is the shape of a maturing earn side. The floor came first. Everything strategic since has been a layer above it. Chapter 4, Chocolate Finance and What a Mispriced Issuer Deal Costs. On the 11th of February 2025, HeyMax and Chocolate Finance launched something genuinely novel. Singapore's first miles-earning Visa debit card, paying 2 max miles per Singapore dollar on virtually everything. The virtually everything is what made it remarkable. Most rewards cards exclude the categories where people spend the most predictable money: utilities, insurance, hospitals, education, government bills. Those exclusions exist for a reason. Those categories carry thin or zero interchange, so there is nothing to fund a reward from. Chocolate's card included them. For a member, it was close to a free lunch. Pay your utility bill, your insurance premium, your child's school fees, your hospital bill, and earn a transferable currency at 2 miles per dollar on all of it. On the 1st of July 2025, the rate was halved. Under 5 months. That is the single most instructive fact on HeyMax's earn side, and this volume treats it as a case study rather than a footnote. What went wrong is not mysterious. A debit card paying 2 miles per dollar on interchange-free categories has no funding source for those categories. Debit interchange in Singapore is thin to begin with. On bill payment and government transactions, it is thinner still or absent altogether. Somebody was paying for those miles out of a marketing budget rather than out of a toll, and marketing budgets have an end. The lesson generalizes, and it generalizes in a way that matters for every future issuer conversation. An earn rate is only durable if the category it applies to actually generates the money that funds it. That sounds obvious written down, It is violated constantly because inclusive earn rates are the most effective acquisition tool in this industry. They are what makes a card worth switching to, and the cost of the inclusion does not appear until the cohort matures. 3 things follow for the unworked partner chapters. 1. Price every issuer deal against the chocolate outcome, not against the launch headline. When Chapter 7 argues for a second payment network, and Chapter 9 for more issuer partnerships, the relevant question is not what rate can be announced. It is what rate survives 18 months. 2. The inclusive categories are the tell. If a proposed deal pays on utilities, insurance, education, healthcare, and government, ask who funds it. If the answer is an acquisition budget, model the halving into the base case and treat the launch rate as a promotion with a longer than usual tail. 3. The reputational cost is asymmetric, and it lands on HeyMax rather than the issuer. Members experience the halving as HeyMax's rate moving, because Max Miles is HeyMax's currency, and the app is where they see the number. This is the same structural exposure the market volumes identified in the add-on lesson. When a partner reprices, the platform absorbs the trust cost. Rate protection clauses are as relevant on the earn side as on the burn side, and they are less commonly written there. Now a fair counterweight, because this chapter should not read as an indictment. The deal did what a launch partnership is supposed to do. It gave HeyMax a genuine Singapore first, considerable press, and a differentiated acquisition channel at a moment when the company had roughly 120,000 users. Buying attention with a temporarily generous rate is a legitimate tactic. Describing it as a mistake would be second-guessing a decision that plausibly paid for itself in members. The failure would be to repeat it without knowing it is a promotion, to model a launch rate as a steady state and build a partner roadmap on top of it. The chocolate card still exists. It still pays. It simply pays half. And the company now has a precedent in its own history for exactly what happens when an earn rate outruns its funding, which is a more useful asset than the original 2 miles per dollar ever was. Chapter 5, You and what a coalition deal actually buys. Every partnership on HeyMax's earn side is a merchant relationship, a payment rail, or a referral arrangement, with one exception. You is the only deal that connects 2 currencies, and it is the most instructive thing the company has signed. The mechanics first. In June 2026, HeyMax and You Rewards Club, described in the announcement as one of Singapore's largest multi-brand loyalty programs, expanded an existing arrangement. You members can now convert You points into Max Miles at 3.6 to 1, a rate the announcement frames as worth up to 10 miles per dollar. And that built on the existing flow in the other direction, Max Miles into You points at 1 to 3. Both directions, published ratios, named counterparty. Now, why is bidirectionality the interesting part? Most loyalty partnerships are feeder deals. The smaller currency flows into the larger one, and the direction of flow encodes which program is the senior partner. That is how bank points work. That is how coalition to airline works. It is how almost every arrangement in this industry is structured. A two-way convertibility arrangement says something different. It says each currency has something the other lacks, and that neither side has to concede seniority. You gets an aspirational exit. Access to what the announcement calls HeyMax's curated portfolio of more than 20 airline and hotel programs without negotiating a single airline treaty. HeyMax gets inbound volume from a grocery and pharmacy coalition it could never have built merchant by merchant. That is the coalition thesis this series has argued across 5 market volumes, executed at home, with a published ratio anyone can check. A correction I owe the record. I had this filed as a Hong Kong arrangement, on the assumption that you meant the DFI program familiar from that market. The June 2026 expansion is explicitly Singapore. Whether a parallel Hong Kong arrangement exists is not something this research established, and this volume does not claim regional coverage it cannot show. Now the part worth thinking hardest about: what did each side actually pay? HeyMax pays in max miles issued against U points, a currency it prints at a ratio it negotiated, redeemable against a shelf it already funds. The incremental cost of a U-sourced member is the cost of the miles they eventually redeem, discounted by breakage, and deferred by the 90-day clock from Chapter 2. U pays in nothing, except optionality it did not previously have. Its points were already a liability. Giving them a better exit does not increase that liability, and arguably reduces it by moving redemption pressure off U's own merchant network. Which is why this deal shape works, and why it should be repeatable. Neither party writes a check. Both parties' liabilities become more useful. The negotiation is about a ratio, not a payment. And a ratio is a much easier thing to agree than a price. That is a genuinely important observation for the unworked partner chapters, because it means the second coalition is not gated on HeyMax's funding ceiling in the way an airline treaty is. Chapter 8's candidates do not have to clear a wholesale mile price. They have to agree an exchange rate. Now the caution, stated plainly. A ratio is easier to agree and easier to move. A wholesale contract has a price and a term. An exchange rate between two proprietary currencies has neither, unless somebody writes them in. If you repriced 3.6 to 1 tomorrow, HeyMax members would experience it as a change in what their U points are worth. And per the add-on lesson this series keeps returning to, the platform absorbs the trust cost of a partner's decision. Rate governance belongs in coalition agreements exactly as it belongs in airline treaties. It is less commonly written there because the deal feels friendlier. And now the strategic point that Chapter 8 builds on. 1 coalition is a pilot, 2 is a category. The moment HeyMax can point to 2 independent coalitions converting into max miles at published ratios, the conversation with the third changes completely. From persuading a skeptical counterparty to try something novel, into telling them their competitor already did. That is the compounding this deal is really about. And it is why the second one matters more than its own transaction volume would suggest. U is not a big deal because of the members it brings. It is a big deal because it is a template. Chapter 6, the record and what the roster does not say. Before recommending partners, it is worth being precise about what HeyMax has actually built, and where the public record runs out. The scale figures, as the company states them. The January 2026 Series A communication, $11 million led by peak XV 150,000 users, 800 merchants, 30-plus airline and hotel programs, 500 million-plus max miles issued annually. Earlier disclosures fill in the trajectory. $6 million of annual recurring revenue at May 2025, up 5 times year on year. 120,000 users, 44,500 monthly actives, over $200 million of cumulative volume, up 15 times. The trajectory is real, and it is fast. 3 years from founding to a Series A in a home market of 6 million people is not a story that needs embellishing. But 3 things in that record deserve scrutiny rather than repetition. First, the merchant count contradicts itself. Series A says 800. HeyMax's own help center, read in August 2026, says 500 plus, and the smaller number is the more recent self-description. Chapter 3 set out the plausible reconciliations, but I cannot resolve it from outside, and neither can anyone quoting a single figure with confidence. Second, the monthly active number went dark. 44,500 monthly actives was disclosed for May 2025. Nothing comparable has been published since, while user count has continued to be. A company that discloses cumulative users but stops disclosing actives is making a choice about which number tells the better story. This series has learned to read that choice as information. Third, and this is the one that matters most for a partnership's volume, The roster is ambiguous in a specific and important way. Card Maximiser models 17 issuers. That is a real, verifiable product feature. But modeling an issuer's rate table is not the same as having a commercial relationship with that issuer. A recommendation engine can compute the best card across 17 issuers using published rates, without a single one of them being a partner. We know two are genuinely commercial: Chocolate Finance, which co-launched a debit card, and UOB, which ran a stacked campaign to 6 miles per dollar in April 2026. For the other 15, the public record does not distinguish between partner and modeled. That distinction changes the entire assessment of the payment family, and I could not close it. If most of the 17 are commercial, HeyMax's issuer business is far deeper than outsiders realize, and the unworked partner list in Chapter 9 is much shorter. If most are merely modeled, then the payment family is one network, 2 real issuer deals, and a very good calculator, and the issuer opportunity is nearly untouched. I lean toward the second reading, on the evidence that only 2 issuer partnerships have ever been announced, but leaning is not knowing. So this volume flags it as the single largest gap in its own analysis, rather than picking the interpretation that makes a better story. Now, what the record does say clearly about direction. The Series A carried strategic investments from Rob Rosenstein, co-founder and chairman of Agoda, and from David Lee, fintech advisor and former president of Visa Asia Pacific. Investors of that specificity are not passive capital, they are stated intent, travel supply, and Visa. The organization is catching up too. The HeyMax Today volume flagged the absence of a business development function as the most striking gap in the company's hiring. The August 2026 Plaza Premium announcement carried a quote from a head of loyalty partnerships. So that role now exists, which is the precondition for anything in chapters 7 through 9 actually happening. And the pruning, because it belongs in the earn record too. On the 1st of June 2026, HeyMax cut 17 redemption partners and ended cash for miles. That is a Burnside event, covered in the companion volume. But it tells you something about the earn side. Because a company that has just discovered the true cost of its own currency will price its next earn deal differently. Every partnership recommended here is being recommended into a company that has recently learned what it can afford. That is a better environment for a partnership conversation than the one that existed a year ago, not a worse one. Chapter 7, The Second Network. The highest value partnership HeyMax has not signed is not a merchant, a bank, or a coalition. It is a card network. Card Maximiser launched in May 2024 as HeyMax's first Tier 1 network partnership. It reads a merchant's category code and tells the member which of their cards to use. It models 17 issuers. And it is Visa only. Sit with what that means for a member. Somebody whose primary card is a MasterCard, which in Singapore includes a large share of premium travel cards, opens the feature that is supposed to tell them how to maximize a purchase, and gets an answer computed for a network their best card is not on. The product does not fail, it quietly underserves, which is worse because the member does not know what they are missing. Run the 5 questions on MasterCard. Deficit. Here the honest answer is that the deficit is HeyMax's, not MasterCard's. MasterCard is not short of distribution in Singapore. What it might want is what Visa evidently wanted: a consumer surface that steers spend to its rails at the moment of purchase with attribution. That is a real proposition, but the asymmetry should be named. HeyMax needs this more than MasterCard does, and that sets the negotiating position. Funding. Network partnerships are co-marketing and data, not miles purchase. They do not consume the funding ceiling. This is the cheapest high-value deal available to HeyMax on either side of its business. Governance, clean. A network is neutral infrastructure. It does not compete with the platform for the member. Demographics. Adding a second network roughly doubles the addressable wallet at a stroke, not by acquiring members, but by making the existing product complete for members already there. Replication, it is the Visa deal again with different logos. Total. 5 for 5 on the criteria that matter. So why has it not happened? Here is the most interesting fact on the earn side, and it cuts both ways. HeyMax's January 2026 Series A included a strategic investment from David Lee, fintech advisor and former president of Visa Asia Pacific. Alongside him, Rob Rosenstein, co-founder and chairman of Agoda. Investors of that specificity are not passive capital. They are hired distribution, and they tell you where a company intends to go, deeper into Visa and deeper into travel supply. Which means the Visa relationship is likely to strengthen, and it also supplies the most plausible explanation for MasterCard's absence. A company whose cap table includes Visa's former regional president has a relationship worth protecting, and a counterparty with an obvious view about exclusivity. Whether any formal exclusivity exists is not public. I am not going to assert one, but the incentive structure is visible and it points the same way. So the recommendation has to be more careful than go sign MasterCard. If exclusivity binds, the second network is unavailable, and the right move is to say so internally and stop treating it as a roadmap item, because a permanently blocked initiative that stays on the plan corrodes the plan. If it does not bind, this is the single best unworked deal on the earn side. Cap immune, replicable, and it completes a product that is currently incomplete for a large share of its own users. And there is a third path worth naming. American Express is the network HeyMax already lists in Card Maximiser as an issuer. And Amex occupies an unusual position. It is issuer and network at once. Its cardholders skew precisely to the affluent travel optimizer tier HeyMax targets, and it runs the most bonus-active transfer program in the world. An Amex-specific earn partnership would not solve the MasterCard gap, but it would reach the highest value slice of it. Grade A on merit with a live blocker. The second network is the largest structural hole in HeyMax's earn side. It is the cheapest to fill, and it is quite possibly the one the company has already traded away for something it valued more. The honest position is that this is a question for the board rather than for the business development team, and that it should be answered explicitly rather than left ambiguous. Chapter 8, The Second Coalition. HeyMax has one inbound coalition. It works. Nobody has built the second. Chapter 5 covered what you proves, 2 currencies, published ratios, both directions, and critically, neither party writes a check. The negotiation is about an exchange rate, not a price, which means a coalition deal does not have to clear the wholesale funding ceiling that gates every airline treaty. So who is the second? NTUC link points, grade A- and the obvious answer. Deficit, link points redeem into groceries. NTUC Union members earn up to 4% back in link points at Fair Price Group outlets, 2% upfront, capped at $6,000 of annual spend. There is no aspirational exit anywhere in the program. That is precisely the U configuration at the scale of Singapore's largest supermarket chain. Funding, a points-to-points conversion at a negotiated ratio, does not consume the miles funding ceiling the way a wholesale purchase does, the same structure that made you work. Governance, sound with one caution. NTUC is a labor movement institution, not a commercial retailer, and its decision-making has a political dimension that a mall operator's does not. Demographics, broader and less affluent than HeyMax's core optimizer tier, which dilutes the conversion rate. But Fair Price reaches close to every household in Singapore, and reach at that level is worth accepting dilution for. Replication, it is the U deal again, total. And there is a timing signal. As of August 2026, link points is not ending, balances survive. But the program is mid-consolidation. Members are migrating into the FairPrice Group app, and the old MyNTUC QR code is being discontinued. A coalition rebuilding its consumer surface has integration budget, engineering attention, and a roadmap with space in it. That is when partnerships get built. Now the obstacle nobody should skip past. Singapore anchor is DFI, Cold Storage, Giant, Guardian, 7-Eleven. FairPrice is DFI's direct competitor in a market with essentially two grocery coalitions. Signing both is possible. Signing the second after the first without having priced exclusivity into the first may not be. If the U agreement carries category exclusivity, this chapter's headline recommendation is already foreclosed. And that is a contract question I cannot answer from outside. Capita Star, Grade B+. Capita lands mall program. Retail anchored, closed loop, demographically closer to HeyMax's core than FairPrice is, and run by a landlord with unusually good spend data. Smaller prize, cleaner path, and no grocery rivalry problem. The telcos, Grade B+. Singtel, StarHub, and M1. The telco churn thesis this series priced across 3 market volumes applies at home too. Telco loyalty tiers are undifferentiated, churn is the sector's defining problem, and co-marketing budgets are genuinely available. The strongest version is not a point swap. It is earn on the bill, recurring, predictable high-frequency spend that no merchant category can match for retention. And now, what the second coalition is actually worth. 1 coalition is a pilot, 2 is a category. The moment HeyMax can show 2 independent coalitions converting into max miles at published ratios, the pitch to the third changes fundamentally. From try this novel thing into your competitor already did. That is the compounding this chapter is really about, and it is why the second deal matters more than its own volume suggests. Chapter 9, the rest of the ledger. The 2 structural deals have their own chapters. Everything else worth signing on the earn side sits here, graded with the reasons. The financial products seem first, already live and underexploited. HeyMax names Airwallex, Atom, Stashaway, and FWD. That is the bounty economy. Card acquisition, insurance, brokerage. Marketing budgets rather than interchange, and therefore immune to the regulatory compression this series documented across 4 markets. The Malaysia volume established the distinction. Regulators cap the card-funded half of rewards and have not touched the commission-funded half. This seam is entirely in the second half. It is also the highest revenue per conversion surface HeyMax has. An issuer will pay a substantial bounty for a funded, activated cardholder. A retailer pays a few % on a basket. And the unworked names are unremarkable, which is exactly the point. The remaining Singapore insurers, Great Eastern, Income, Singlife, Prudential, AIA, the brokerages, Tiger, Mumu, Saif, and Dawes. The digital banks, Trust Bank, GXS, Mari Bank. None of these requires a novel structure. They require a business development function, and the HeyMax Today volume flagged the absence of one as an organizational gap. The August 2026 Plaza Premium announcement carried a quote from a head of loyalty partnerships, so that gap appears to be closing. Grade B+ across the category, a minus for execution urgency. These are not strategy, they are throughput, but they are throughput on the most valuable surface in the business. One verification note: Trust Bank in particular was ranked highly in the earlier partnerships volume, and I have carried it forward as unworked. I could not confirm that from public sources in this research. Check before acting. Fuel, Grade B+. Shell, Esso, Caltex, SPC untouched and better than it looks. Fuel loyalty is discount-shaped with no exit, the standard deficit. And Singapore applies a demographic filter no other daily spend category does. Because of certificate of entitlement costs, car ownership is a wealth proxy. A fuel partnership reaches affluent members at high frequency, without paying for the reach. Groceries beyond the coalitions. Grade B Shengxiang runs no coalition and has no aspirational exit. Smaller, simpler, and available without the DFI versus fair price conflict from the last chapter. Point-to-point transport. Grade B Grab is declined below on the standing no deficit analysis, but Grab is not the category. Comfort Del Gro, TADA, and the taxi operators have thin loyalty, genuine daily frequency, and no currency worth holding. They are exactly the shape Rabbit and Touch and Go were in the market volumes, with the difference that HeyMax already has Singapore transit, so the incremental reach is narrower. Food delivery, Grade B-. Foodpanda is already a Hong Kong merchant. Deliveroo Singapore is unworked. Thin margins and a heavy discount culture mean the earn rate will be low and the members price-driven. Real, but small. Now the declines with reasons, because a ledger that grades everything is not a ledger. Grab, Shopee, GoTo, and the super apps. No deficit and the capability to build their own currency from a stronger position than HeyMax could offer. Declined in 4 consecutive market volumes. Declined again here. Merchant floor relationships only. Government and utility billers. Chocolate Finance already reached these categories through the debit card, and Chapter 4 explained how that ended. The margin is near zero because the interchange is near zero. This is a category, not a partner, and it is a category that has already demonstrated it cannot fund a competitive rate. Airlines as earn partners. An airline paying members to shop is a Burnside relationship, inverted. It belongs in the companion volume. And one structural observation to close the ledger. Look at what is on it. A second network, a second coalition. Insurers, brokerages, digital banks, fuel, taxis. Not one of these is a merchant in the ordinary sense. That is the shape of a maturing earn side. The merchant floor is a throughput problem that solves itself weekly, and every genuinely strategic move left is a rail, a network, a coalition, a category with recurring spend, and a captive demographic. HeyMax spent 3 years building the floor. The next 3 years of earn-side value are in the rails above it. Chapter 10, The Verdict and the Falsifiers. The verdict, the earn-side's merchant problem is solved. Its network problem is not, and the second coalition is the highest return signature available. Here is the working compressed. HeyMax has 13 earned surfaces in 3 families. Commerce is dense and self-extending. Merchants are added weekly without a strategic decision being made, which makes them throughput rather than strategy. Payment is deep but singular. 17 issuers modeled, 2 verifiably commercial, and 1 card network. And the network family, which is where the compounding lives, has exactly 1 inbound coalition. So the recommendation set is short, and none of it is a shop. Priority 1. Resolve the second network question as a board decision, not a business development task. MasterCard is the highest value unworked earn partner on merit. It is cap immune. It does not consume the funding ceiling. It is a clean governance fit, and it roughly doubles the addressable wallet by completing a product that is currently incomplete for every MasterCard primary member. And HeyMax's Series A includes the former president of Visa Asia Pacific. That is excellent for deepening Visa, and it is the most plausible explanation for MasterCard's absence. I cannot show an exclusivity clause, and I will not assert one, but the incentive is visible. So the honest recommendation is not go sign MasterCard. It is, find out whether it is available, and if it is not, take it off the roadmap explicitly, because a permanently blocked initiative that stays on the plan corrodes the plan. If it is blocked, the fallback is American Express, issuer and network at once, with cardholders concentrated in exactly the affluent optimizer tier this product serves. Priority 2, sign the second coalition. You proved the shape. 2 currencies, published ratios, both directions, and neither party writing a check. That last point is the important one. A coalition deal is a negotiation about an exchange rate, not a price. which means it does not have to clear the wholesale funding ceiling that gates every airline treaty. NTUC Link is the obvious candidate. Link points redeem into groceries with no aspirational exit. FairPrice reaches close to every household, and the program is mid-consolidation into the FairPrice app, which means integration budget and roadmap space. Capita Star is the cleaner, smaller alternative. The telcos are the third path, and the strongest version there is earn on the bill rather than a point swap. The obstacle is real and must be priced. Use Singapore Anchor is DFI, and FairPrice is DFI's direct competitor in a two-coalition grocery market. If the U agreement carries category exclusivity, this recommendation is already foreclosed. Priority 3. Work the financial products seem properly. Airwallex, Atom, Stashaway, and FWD are live. The unworked names, the remaining insurers, the brokerages, the digital banks need no novel structure. Only a business development function, which now appears to exist. This is the highest revenue per conversion in the business and the most cap immune. It is throughput, but it is throughput on the best surface. And one thing not to do. Do not price the next issuer deal off a launch headline. Chocolate Finance paid 2 miles per dollar on utilities, insurance, hospitals, education, and government bills, categories that generate little or no interchange, and it halved within 5 months. An earn rate is only durable if the category it applies to generates the money that funds it. Model the halving into the base case. Now the falsifiers, ordered by likelihood. 1. Most of the 17 issuers are already commercial partners. This is the largest gap in my own analysis. If Card Maximisers 17 are mostly real relationships rather than modeled rate tables, then the payment family is far deeper than I have assessed. Priority 3 shrinks dramatically, and the issuer opportunity is largely worked. Only 2 partnerships have ever been announced, which is why I lean the other way. But leaning is not knowing, and this is resolvable internally in an afternoon. 2. MasterCard is contractually unavailable. If exclusivity binds, Priority 1 is not a recommendation. It is a dead letter, and this volume's headline changes, also resolvable internally, immediately. 3. U carries category exclusivity. Same structure, it would foreclose NTUC Link and push the second coalition toward Capita Star or the telcos. 4. The merchant count is genuinely falling. I treated 800 versus 500 plus as a definitional discrepancy. If it is a real contraction, merchants prune the way transfer partners were, then the commerce family is not the solved, self-extending surface this volume assumes, and the whole priority ordering changes. Watch the number over the next 2 quarters. 5. The 90-day float is smaller than it looks. I have described the clock as working capital. If breakage and redemption timing mean the float is economically trivial, then one of this volume's more interesting observations is merely an accounting curiosity, measurable internally, invisible from outside. 5 falsifiers, and note what they have in common. 4 of the 5 could be resolved by HeyMax in a single afternoon, and cannot be resolved from outside at all. That is the honest limit of an external analysis of a private company's partnership book, and it is better stated than disguised. The merchant floor is built. The rails above it are where the next 3 years of earnside value sits, and the 2 that matter most are a network and a coalition, neither of which is a shop.